Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Geek Master. As usual, I am your esteemed host, Cassius Samuels, and today I'm going to hit you guys with my review of Superman number 41. This issue serves as a prelude of sorts to the truth storyline that's currently being shown in the present DCU, basically giving us a story on exactly how Clark Kent lost his powers, got his new look, and how the world learned about his dual identity. Up front, I'm going to let you know, for the most part, it's a pretty standard Superman comic with Clark and Jimmy Olsen breaking a huge story thanks to an anonymous tipster that also happens to know Clark's secret. Superman is pretty much demoted to a co-star status within this issue, with most of the focus being laid on Clark Kent as the first dominoes that will change his life forever start to fall one by one. As always, keep in mind that in order for me to do an in-depth analysis of this issue, I'm going to have to discuss intimate details of the plot. So if you are not into spoilers and you have not read this issue, please don't even bother listening any further. Go read the comic, come back, and then review this video later after you've read it for yourself. So the book opens up and starts off with a very brief glimpse at the newly depowered Superman as he's riding on top of an airplane with a smug look on his face. Then the story suddenly jumps back and quickly rewinds to before Lois Lane exposed Superman's identity to the world and before Clark lost his powers. Where we see Clark hard at work at the Daily Planet as he receives a series of mysterious texts from an unknown individual that urge him to turn on the news, where he sees a report featuring a family who had just been victimized by criminals using super advanced weaponry of some kind. It's also stated on the report that it's coming from an unknown source according to police, and this of course piques the Man of Steel's interest. We then see the mysterious person tell Clark via text that if he wants the story of the year, he will do as they say, and of course Clark obliges as he and Jimmy Olsen run off to investigate. From there, we see Clark and Jimmy sneak into a bunker of some kind, where they see a corrupt senator named Leland Norvell giving a tour of the facility, which houses several state-of-the-art 3D printers that are capable of producing all kinds of weaponry, from energy rifles to full-size tanks. While Leland is talking business with several military officials, Clark and Jimmy continue to investigate the facility until they are discovered by a guard, who immediately calls in a security breach as Clark uses his super speed and super strength to destroy the guard's gun while buying Jimmy time to escape. Eventually, Jimmy finds himself cornered by several other guards, but that's okay because out of nowhere, Superman speeds onto the scene and starts manhandling everybody with ease as the senator calls in a mobile 3D printer for backup as it smashes its way into the facility and immediately moves to attack Superman. Superman then rips off a few of its legs and disables it long enough to fly Jimmy and the guard who was injured in the whole exchange out of the bunker to safety. But the monster mechanization of a 3D printer quickly follows Superman to the streets above the bunker and it continues its assault. Superman tells Jimmy to get the guard as far away as possible, and then he lets loose with his solar flare ability once again, and of course this totally obliterates the mobile 3D printer and blows it to smithereens. From there, we flash back to the Daily Bugle, where Jimmy and Clark have a quick discussion about Superman's solar flare ability. Clark reveals to Jimmy that the Justice League has been helping him learn to control his solar flare ability better, and that it shouldn't take too long for his powers to come back. All of a sudden, here comes Lois, as she crashes the party like always. The three of them exchange information, and between the trio, they are able to publish a monumental story that sells enough copies to make Perry White so happy that he actually offers to take everyone out to dinner. I know, right? And if you know Perry White, you know that had to be a lot of newspapers getting sold because it put him in that good of a mood to spend his own money. That's not something you see very often, so I know everybody had to be elated. But during this celebration, Clark is again texted by the mysterious individual who congratulates him on a job well done. Clark tries to force the mysterious person to reveal their identity, but they only go so far as to say that they are a friend. This friend then goes on to inform Clark that there will be a young lady with blue dreadlocks arriving at the Daily Planet soon asking for him, and when she does so, that he is to turn her over to the proper authorities. At first, Clark tells him to leave him alone. If they won't reveal their identity, they have nothing else to talk about. But he changes his tune real quick when the anonymous individual threatens to publish a Superman fan page that will reveal his identity to the world. They assure him that his secret as Superman will be safe as long as he complies and do exactly what they ask of him. After this, Clark flips out on Jimmy out of pure paranoia, since Jimmy is the only non-superhero individual who knows about his secret identity. Jimmy assures Clark that he would never betray his secret as long as he is his best friend at any cost. Moments later, the young identified woman with the blue dreadlocks arrives at the Daily Planet requesting an audience with Clark, but before he can get to her, of course, Lois Lane is right in the middle of shit like always, as two conspicuous males suddenly depart an elevator right behind the young lady, flashing FBI badges and talking about warrants for her arrest. Clark and Lois have a brief exchange about turning her over, but in the end, Clark disregards Lois and turns the young blue-haired lady over to the authorities. This kind of gives us maybe an idea of why maybe Lois gets the motivation to expose Clark's identity in the end when she finds out. Maybe something happens to this girl and she holds him responsible for it. We don't know that for sure, but let's see going forward. But after that, Clark tells the mysterious person in his phone that he's done, that he did what they asked of him, he's done, now leave him alone, to which they reply that they are just getting started. Realizing that the extortion will never end, Clark becomes infuriated and decides to take matters into his own hands as he decides to go after the blue-haired informant despite the fact he is vulnerable due to his recent solar flare disbursement. From there, Clark somehow tracks the vehicle the girl was taken into an overpass that he jumps off of like a maniac, landing on the roof of a fleeing SUV while it's speeding down the freeway. He's dressed in a Daredevil-esque costume as one of the henchmen leans out of the window and opens fire on him, but Clark seemingly manages to not get hit at first as he pulls the henchman through the window and arm tosses him into a parked car. He then proceeds to climb inside of the vehicle and quickly subdues the remaining henchmen. Not sure if this covert costume that he's doing all these crime-fighting antics is. He apparently borrowed it from Jimmy, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to be an Easter egg or not, but the outfit looks exactly almost identical to the suit that Matt Murdock wore in the Netflix Daredevil series. Either way, I thought it was kind of cool and was worth pointing out. But as events continue to unfold expeditiously, leaving little time to spare, Clark grabs the young blue-haired lady and dives out of the SUV before it smashes into a couple of parked cars on the street. From there, Clark escorts the young lady to a rendezvous point where Lois and Jimmy are waiting with a getaway car, only to find out that they were followed. Once in the car safely, Jimmy immediately notices that Clark is bleeding as the two pursuing henchmen open fire on the car, causing him to speed off in a hurry, with Clark apparently losing consciousness along the way, and that's where the story closes. Overall, I thought the issue was pretty entertaining for the most part because it is an exciting, compelling read with a fresh new take on the character, and for the first time in a long time, Superman feels fresh and unpredictable. With that being said, there are still a few things that bothered me about the story going forward. Gene Luen Yang makes a bold impression in his DC debut, but the fact the story is jumping around so much between so many different titles while everything is being published out of order is kind of making it hard to avoid confusion within the storyline's continuity. One month into the launch of the new DCU, and this story is already starting to feel very convoluted as no real plot has really started to emerge yet. I plan on reviewing the other Superman titles that tie into this story, so I won't cover a lot of those details now, just so I don't end up repeating myself in the future. But if you've read the other titles this month, like Action Comics or Superman Batman, or those DCU sneak peeks that have been getting put out, you may be wondering why this is still a mystery like I am. Based on the things that have been said and seen in those titles, all signs point to Clark's secret being exposed by Lois Lane, and that Superman's sudden loss of power is somehow tied to his solar flare power. And while we are on the subject of the solar flare, I have something to say real quick. I started off loving the solar flare, but now I've recently come to despise it, just for the simple fact that I think since it's been introduced, it's been featured or focused in almost every single Superman issue that has come out since its inception. To me, it feels like it's kind of overkill and it's getting annoying, but I understand it for what it is at the same time, a plot device that they're using to build a story around. So at this point, I'm kind of just chalking it up and moving on because there is no point in nitpicking since it's over and done with. I will say that I do subscribe to the theory that somehow this new solar flare ability contributed to Clark losing his powers, and I also subscribe to the idea that the Fortress of Solitude somehow plays a key role in this as well. To me, the Fortress is really the only thing I can think of right now that would possibly have the ability to permanently depower Superman to the level that he is now, and possibly also play a part in him not regaining his abilities as he typically does. And I say permanently with air quotations because we all know that Clark will eventually restore his full level of abilities at some point. The artwork by John Romita Jr. is pretty good and consistent to me as well. One of the things that stands out to me is that Romita is great about conveying a sense of scale in his work. Even though Yang is opting to go for a more grounded, basic approach to Superman, he gives Romita a chance to cut loose and show Superman battling with some massive foes. In the end, Superman 41 suffers from a couple storytelling flaws, but all in all, to me, the issue marks a strong debut for the new writer Gene Luen Yang. And even if we already know where the story is going to end up in the final story, Before Truth is shaping up to be a memorable Superman tale. I give the issue a solid 7 out of 10. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to a close. If you found any value in this video, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Facebook at The Geek Master so you can stay up to date with all the videos as they become public. I try to put out at least one video a week, so if you want to stay up to date with all things comic, please subscribe, help a brother out. I will see you guys next time, and I'm out. Peace.